like a craft beer through a pint glass. These are the gays of our lives. A show where Lisa and Avery get out their gay decoder rings to decipher the gay alphabet and bridge the gap between the older and younger LGBTQ community and everyone fucking else. And now here are your hosts, Lisa and Avery. Don't blame them.
Hey guys, it's Sears.
And Avery.
And today on The Gays of Our Lives, you're not going to believe this.
We have a guest who's not just trending on Netflix, but also used to fight with tigers for a living, the one and only Saff. How are you doing today?
Good. How's it going?
So honored to have you here and joining us via Zoom or whatever. You know, you're in California, you said, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So we appreciate you coming on and joining us.
No, it's not. It's my pleasure, honestly. It really is.
No, so you guys are under like house stay at home order or whatever it is too, right?
I mean, I've never seen anything official come through, but it's a courtesy thing, you know?
Oh, okay.
And honestly, even if there wasn't an order in place, there's not much places you can go around here anymore. Everything's shut down.
Man,
if it's necessary, it's not open.
That's crazy. See, that's how it is around here, and I'm getting like stir crazy about it. It's like this has been like refreshing because it's like I love my fiance, but that's the only person I've talked to for like 2 weeks.
Well, and I actually decided to do my hair, and it's really getting bad. I need a haircut. It's going to be awful. My mullet's going to be so long by the time I get out of this quarantine or quarantine, as I call it.
Right.
So, okay, so you live in California now, but okay, so where were you born? Were you born in Hawaii? Because your first name is a Hawaiian, and I'm.
Right.
So you were born in Hawaii then?
I was. Yep. I was born and raised there. I only left because I joined the military. That's the only reason I left, and by then I was already, clear into my 18s. So.
Yeah. So then you were in the military from what years?
2004 to 2010.
Okay, wow.
Which
that was like so you were overseas with some heavy action then.
And
kept all your lives through that.
Yeah, yeah, there was that, and then I came home, and honestly, I went from being in the military to working with tigers. So I've been there a long time.
How did that happen?
Well, my entire life, I wanted a tiger. As soon as I could say tiger, I've asked for it for birthdays or Christmases, stuff like that. So as soon as I possibly could, I wanted to get my hands on one, and by the time I was transitioning out of the Army, that was it. I was like, this is the next thing I'm going to do if it's the last thing I'm going to do. So I was on a mission.
So how did you get to the GW Zoo? Like, how did your mission lead you there?
Right. I actually transferred out of the Army, or not transferred, transitioned out of the Army at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. So.
Okay.
I was there, and I don't know if any of you guys known anyone who gets out of the Army or gets out of the military in general. It takes a long time. It's a bunch of paperwork. It's a bunch of checking boxes off. But you technically don't belong to the Army anymore. So you just have all this free time after you're done checking your boxes off for the day. So I was just literally Googling all day, where can I get my hands on a tiger? And Joe's was the first place to pop up. Closest to me, obviously.
Yeah.
At that point, I think I was about an hour east or so of him. So I was like, that's where I'm going to be.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And that's how it all started.
Do you work at a zoo now or work with tigers now?
I do not know.
Oh.
Unfortunately, I'm just at a boring clock in the morning and clock out in the afternoon job, go home, eat dinner, get up, do it all over again.
Oh my God. It's like, well, and because to me, I'm like, your whole life is this awesome roller coaster, and now you're at like the petting zoo, and it's like, so, okay, so you worked with tigers daily, and that, are you like devoid of it? Is it like something you miss? Like you just want to be
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. I was asked the other day, so what's the next, what's the next big thing? I was like, man, I really feel like that was my climax. You know, I mean,
Oh no,
don't get me
how old
wrong,
are you?
I'm 34.
No, that's not your
Young.
climax. Come on,
He's young.
that's like the beginning to the ultimate story. They could write like a whole rock ballad about your life if you just like keep going up from here. Like you
Honestly,
start wrestling with tigers.
Yeah.
honestly,
No,
you're
yeah,
young
yeah.
enough. I mean, it could start now. Mine started, I'm 45, and my life really just started in the last 4 years the way it is. So, I mean, you still got plenty of time. Heck, you could have your own.
Right. Yeah, no, fortunately enough, I still get to interact with the animals, except, this time around it's more as like a customer rather than a, person who is working with them on a daily basis. So that kind of
Yeah.
fills some of the holes that were left empty. But as far as, ever being in that industry again, I don't think I want to participate in it again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the industry definitely looks dodgy and I feel like, you had like a good, like pure purpose and cause when you were at it the first time, but now like, I'm sure like, did you go at it with anybody else? Like I said, that's just also how the docuseries made it look. I don't know how accurate that is or, you
Right,
know,
right. I mean, the one thing that I can say is 100% accurate because for the most part, you're just filming them in real time. I mean, I know these people personally, and that is them in real time. You know,
yeah.
every person in there, I think, was portrayed correctly and properly. Um, but as far as like the vibes that they sent out, I don't think like everyone thinks that Doc Antel. I don't know if you guys are familiar with his name, but
Yeah.
he's the one who had like all the different wives.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a stud.
They said that must be, that's horrible and whatnot. I have been to his place. I have met these people. They're extremely happy, including
Yeah.
Doc himself. Like he is happy unapologetically,
Yeah.
and that's life. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
not that happy, then what are you doing? You know?
Right. Well, honestly, because he's just like found a lifestyle
I
that really
mean,
has everything he wants in it. You know,
yeah, I'm
I mean,
seriously. So I mean, obviously, a lot of it is perspective and people's opinions, and that's completely fine. But I think that they definitely showed everyone in their best or worst light. You know?
yeah.
Well, what about you though? Did you think they portrayed you properly? Because I know that they used wrong pronouns for you, correct? How do you identify that?
Right. So again, right? Yeah. As far as character and as far as me as a person, 100%. Everything I said I meant because it's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that was actually one of the stipulations of me signing on to do this documentary because I actually refused to do it for months. Um, and they said, this story will be told with or without you. And I think it's best that you have a hell of a story to tell. I think it's best that it comes out of your mouth, um, like every good filmmaker. So yeah, I definitely wanted to get involved at that point, and I'm glad that they kept to their word because everything was spot on. But there's no really mixing, the truth. So
Right.
that was easy for me. Um, as far as the pronouns go, honestly, like I told you guys, before, I think I just personally don't pay it any mind. Um, don't get me wrong, my friends and close family or my close friends and family members, they were upset for me. But I think everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I know that it's a big issue, and I don't want to step on any toes or take to one side or the other because in my opinion it's not what should be at the forefront of everything. Um,
Right.
Again, like I said, I know there's a huge community, and I do know that they fought for everything that they have currently, and that's not something I ever want to dismiss. Um, there are a couple things though now that I have been able to research on some, because I was highly uneducated on any of this community prior to this. Um, so trans man, as far as definitions that I've seen, I don't fit any of those because I've never had anything done ever. So I don't know, what my proper anything would be. I do know that my entire life I've been he, him, his. I don't think that I've ever corrected anyone on that either. So if you're asking me what I prefer, it's what I've always gone by: he, him, his. But I'll be okay with anything. I'm really laid back. I mean, I really just don't. I
You
don't
seem
put it at the forefront of anything.
pretty chill.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have like a I don't know, a passion for, defending what they believe is right. And I know that I think everyone noticed that I haven't really said much about that. And it's not because I don't think, I don't choose one side or the other. I think I'm very okay with everything. And I don't want or feel the need to correct anyone or, have
Yeah.
anyone do what I say, stuff like that. So there's nothing off limits. I just wanted to kind of get that out there so that no one thinks I'm just blowing it off. I'm not blowing it off.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't worry about it. I'm not concerned with it, in my personal opinion, not speaking for.
Can I,
Well, I mean, if
sorry.
it's not something that really like bothers your dysphoria, I mean, there's no sense in raising a ruckus. I get that. Yeah. I work in customer service. I'm misgendered all the time, and you just kind of learn to just that's all right.
And like I said, I know that there was a lot put into the rights that that's out there now. The right to say, look, this is what I identify as, and that's respect, mad respect.
Yeah.
I think I'm one of the fortunate ones that never had to deal with any of that. So it was never something that I was concerned about or worried about or anything like that. Also, I don't know a lot. I'm not very educated on a lot of it, so I don't want to misspeak either.
Yeah. No, you can only speak to your story, basically.
Exactly.
That's kind of how I usually like preface things when I speak in front of groups. I'm like, I know my story, I know how I feel, but this might not be how you feel. Like,
honestly,
Yeah.
You have to be. The rest of your life was in the army or wrestling tigers. I'm sorry. Again, your whole life, I'm like, I totally get what you think that's the climax, but like you've already proven like this is what I want. I'm just gonna go do that. Like you like went and pursued being with tigers.
I did.
That's like a whole thing I have to grasp first.
I just want to.
I grew up in Hawaii, which is or I call it. I grew up on a rock. It's a rock. You can go in a circle, but you can't go any further on foot. So I've always kind of felt like I didn't have enough space. So I was just like this ticking time bomb in too little of an area, And my whole life I've spent, what else can I get myself into? And don't get me wrong, it was not always positive. And my sisters can vouch for this. Man, I have gotten into so much trouble when I was little until I was, a very, very young adult. I mean, just a trouble. So, I think that kind of rolled over into this almost butterfly effect of that, to where now I just want to enjoy life, breathe it in and enjoy it and just take what I got and run with it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's super healthy. Yeah.
It's a great way.
It's like a weird way to. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great way to like come to that healthy conclusion too.
Right.
You're just.
I mean, at the end of the day, you got to be at peace with yourself. You have to, and the only way to do that is to genuinely have a conversation with yourself. Like, hey, man, what do we got to do? What do we got to do today to just be happy? Honestly.
I read that.
So, are you in a relationship right now?
I am. Yes, I have been. So.
May I ask, male, female?
Female, always females.
What? I didn't know. Just making sure. I don't want to assume. How long have you been with her? How long have you been with her?
I have no clue now. I have 3 children, and that's through multiple relationships. So it's just a matter of balancing now, and I don't really keep count. I live it second by second. That's my best bet. It's the easiest way for me to stay out of trouble.
Makes sense. Makes total sense.
Yeah.
That's awesome. No, I dig it. You're just like living your life. I totally dig that.
I really am.
And has this documentary caused like any type of like chaos in that, or have you been able to really like keep your happiness pretty much?
I mean, for me personally, it's a new experience. I've never been a part of anything in the spotlight or the limelight. So I could walk around and it was almost like I wasn't there, and it was perfectly fine with me, you know?
Yeah.
I've always laid low and been low key. So the being recognized in public, you know, that's alarming, and that's new to me. And you know, obviously my inboxes and my social medias are just off the chain.
I bet it's blowing up. I'm actually,
It's a
that's why I'm
blast.
so surprised we've gotten like we're even able to get in contact with you. I'm like, I'm sure he is getting hit from every direction.
Insane.
And I'm not gonna lie, you know, it was kind of like, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I've had to recruit, you know, my little one's help. Like, you guys gotta write things down. If I'm saying it out loud, write it down.
Well, I noticed that you really you haven't really had too much of a social media presence before. You had a Facebook and you have an Instagram, but you don't really post or anything on it. You just started.
Right. Actually, the only reason I have those is because I was in such a big time difference from my family home in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in North Carolina, it was even bigger, and then I was in Washington, and then I was in Oklahoma last, and that time difference makes it hard to get on the phone or even text messages. Just can't even. So the reason that I have a lot of those platforms is to communicate with my family at home, see pictures of them, you know, see pictures of my nieces and nephews, and just kind of be a part of their life, even though I'm all the way over here and they're all the way over there.
Well, yeah.
So that was really the reasoning for my social media presence. And then once everyone started to hit it, I was like, I mean, this is outrageous. But I do love the fact that a lot of people reach out, because that's bold, you know, that takes a lot. And I'm human. I mean, I'm nothing more but human, you know? So I want to be able to communicate and talk to them. And, you know, again, I love to tell my own story. I'll tell my own story all day.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Honestly, that's kind of what the great thing about having people on this show is we get to know people so fast, because it's like, hey, just tell me how your life changed forever. And then like usually it's like, you know, like I said, we get to know people in like a deep level. And I didn't really realize it, you know?
Oh yeah, man. At the end of the day, we're all just people, you know? And if I can bring some joy to you just by saying hi, that's awesome.
Oh yeah.
I'll do that all, you know?
You don't even know. I mean, people, when I posted that, everybody's like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's really cool and chill. And they're like, "How and why?" And you know, you were just like, "Are you serious right now?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think I'm getting catfished, but maybe, but I don't think so."
Or tiger fish, or tiger shark, or sorry,
Tiger shark.
Yeah. Remember, we didn't say great comedians. We just said comedians.
Yeah, I was say we did not advertise as good comedians. Right. We are from Indiana.
So you got paid like $150 for a week for working there at the zoo. Is that correct? Is that right?
That is correct. You know, it was for me, it was never about the money.
No.
And then for the other people, I think honestly, it sounds horrible, right? But it's probably the best offer they would have gotten at that time in their life. You know, I can't stress to you guys how much these people that came in were similar in the fact that they didn't have much, you know? So it was, I'm not downplaying that, you know, it's not a way to live, but in all honesty, it was one of two things. It was they were there for the animals and not the money, or that was enough for them to be there.
Yeah.
But
well, and so honestly, this is something, you know, Al and I kind of talked about. It's like, you know, for some people, like it wasn't just like a last chance. It was like a saving grace, even, like, or at least that's how it looked, you know, again.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. And I'm going to include myself in that, because regardless of what I had experienced in my life up until that point, that was, in my opinion, where I wanted to. I mean, just I had to be there. That's what I wanted more than anything else. And even though it didn't mean anything financially progressive or even just life in general progressive, I was living my dream, you know. And when you live your dream, who cares, where you live
Right,
or
you
what
joy.
you own? Man, I would wake up every morning literally doing exactly what I wanted to do every second of the day until I fell asleep again. And when you love what you do, man, you don't work a day in your life.
Most
I
people
didn't
can't
work a
say
day
that.
for 10 years. I didn't work a single day.
That's incredible.
So
That's awesome.
that's
Though.
a blessing in itself.
Now,
Yeah.
tell me, because this is like the number one thing being seen, talked about, more memes than anything else. Tell me you're getting paid from this.
From the,
Documentary.
well, okay, yeah. Yeah, as far as the documentary, yes.
Okay,
Yes,
I was like, I would hope so, because it's like mind-blowing at how big this thing is. I mean, there isn't a time. A friend of mine got in a tiger head, and had a sign outside of her vape shop that said, honk if Carol Baskets killed her husband, or something like that, the other day on the street. I mean, this is just like, it's everywhere, everybody.
Let's talk about crazy repercussions from that. Like a murder case was reopened.
Right?
That whole thing.
I've seen that. And that's what I mean by, as far as the effect that it's having on everything or anybody or everybody, it's a ripple effect, really. It's a matter of now people see this, whether they draw out animals or a passion for animals again, or opening up a new murder case, or just somebody somewhere finding some kind of peace of mind.
Yeah.
There is some kind of effect out of this, regardless of everything else that's going on around.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that to me is pretty incredible, and I'm very glad that I took part in it for that reason alone.
Do you still talk to anybody from the zoo?
I do not. No, when I left the zoo in 2018, I left it all.
Yeah. Honestly, just from the looks of how that all ended up, I think that's like a healthy choice. Again, you're living your life to be happy now.
I am.
That's
That's
good.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, I mean, it's pretty simple. I wasn't there for any other reason but the animals. They gave to me so much more than I will ever be able to give back to them. So once that went away, then everything else went away, and nothing else mattered. So I left.
So I had somebody say, "Oh, it's abusive on these animals." I mean, from your point of view and the way you talk, it wasn't.
Right, because it wasn't. We were never abusive to our animals. And when I say we, I mean the caretakers, the animal handlers, the people that were there behind all the curtains, running everything behind the scenes. Because the animals, if they are or were the star of the show, and when I say that, I mean, people come there to see them.
Mm-hmm.
So their care was the most important thing, top priority. And these people did that. They didn't just care for things in a cage. These were a part of their lives. These animals meant something to them. So yeah, I definitely yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah. No, honestly, I think that, like, again, like, I think it's one of the few questions that you leave there with. It's like, because when you like hear from all the caretakers that were on the interviews, you're like, well, I feel like they had a passion for it that was genuinely like from a good place. I can't always say Joe had the best motives. Also, he's totally lip syncing in that, right? Like all of that's him lip syncing, right? Okay. It was never said on the documentary, and it drove me absolutely insane. I had to ask that. Right?
Yeah.
But but like when it came to like all of, everybody who's like actually working on the park, they sound like they started getting upset with things when, it stopped being about the tigers and their
the animals. Right. Yeah, and that was the whole point, we are not Joe, and we are not Joe's actions. So and then of course abuse is a relative term,
Right.
So I've said it before, if they thought that the cage that the animal was in was too small, that to them is abuse.
Right.
To me, I'm working with what I have the best that I can.
Yeah.
And, you know, there definitely was a lot of mistakes made as far as quantity of animals. There was way too much animals and way too little staff. And then, of course, at some points there was way too little resources. You know,
Yeah.
you can't argue to me that there's not enough food to feed all these animals while you're creating more animals.
Right.
Well, I mean, there was daily issues within this park that stayed on that park. Um, but my main concern was that if there was abuse, it wasn't done by the animal handlers. Did I see it myself? Absolutely not.
Right.
You know,
That's good.
no, there was no abuse on our park. But again, abuse is a relative term. You know.
Right.
I
Well,
mean,
and again, like I like to think, because again, you've had a passion for tigers since you could speak. Like obviously, like you're gonna be on top of it if you saw anything like that anyway. And then
Right.
again, I
Right.
mean, you already agreed to take place in this or I guess docu series.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, and I feel like you were really great at like bringing out that, and that, like, you know, like as far as you're concerned and your definitions, there was no harm to those tigers, and I feel good about that. I don't know, of
Right.
the
Right.
zoos we were shown, I felt really good about that.
Right. I know that every single second that I spent with them, it was a love, and it was a mutual love.
Hmm.
And an animal is not the type of, especially a tiger. I mean, these are fierce, fierce beasts.
Yeah.
They live solitary in the wild for a reason because they don't need anything else, you know? And for it to love and trust anything, you're not abusing that.
Yeah.
It,
That's
it,
cool.
that's
That's beautiful.
that's the point. You know, these are big, exotic, dangerous animals,
Yeah.
and if you want to have a battle of who's the bigger beast, they will win. Period.
Yeah.
Period.
can I ask, were you feeding the tiger when he got your arm, or how did that actually happen? They didn't really go into a whole lot of detail. They just went into it
Right.
after.
Right. 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 No. Yes and no. I wasn't feeding it directly. We have a routine. So basically, we have two pens for them, two cages. One is a main cage, and one is a shift cage, and it's just a tiny little spot for it to stay for 8 minutes while we clean its cage safely. So the obviously the animal is not in the cage when the crew is in there. So he was in the shift pen, and we were cleaning. Once they were done cleaning, they feed fresh food. They clean its water bowl and give it fresh water. And all I was doing was shifting it back into its enclosure from its shift pen. And man, like I said, I've done that every day, you know, for almost 10 years, day in, day out, hundreds of times a day, because there's hundreds of cages on park. And I just got complacent, you know. I just got to thinking that I'm invincible at this point, you know.
Yeah.
And he was very quick to remind me, no, you're not. I see you. uh, but I do want to point out that, and this is just from my professional opinion, as far as my experience with these animals, that I don't personally think it was from an aggressive standpoint. I think it was from a playful one.
Yeah.
Because if a 600-pound tiger wanted to be aggressive with me, I would have lost a little bit more than a hand that day. So
Yeah,
I just wanted to point that out there because that wasn't
Yeah.
made
true.
clear. You know.
And they didn't make that clear, and I was kind of saying, I always wondered, because I even thought, like, you know, they were playing with, you know, people in like a bunch of different scenes, like, and that's what I guess I came to expect out of. That's really good. That's nice to hear. I'm
Yeah.
glad you said that. That's nice
Well,
to
you know,
hear.
and that's what I meant by the media turned it into this horror story. You know,
Yeah.
this tiger attack, and it really wasn't that. And a lot of people can say, how do you know what a tiger attack is? I work with tigers every day for 10 years. I think I know what a tiger attack is.
Right. Like, I think I know when it's coming at me.
So I just, yeah, and I'm glad I was able to say that, because again, they don't say that in the documentary.
Uh-huh. Well, and again, like I kept thinking, like, I wanted someone to explain more what happened, but it never came up.
Right.
I'm glad we got
Right.
to ask you personally instead of just,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I mean, you get the story from the tiger's mouth. You know,
My
That's
God.
exactly it.
This is
Those
what
are
I mean.
my words
we didn't
exactly.
say good comedians.
No, yeah, no, and you know, also there was a lot of things about how, you know, I was forced to cut my hand off and return to work, or I was forced to not not sue or to not, file for this or file for that. And it's just crazy the amount of stories and the type of stories that people come up with, because that's absolutely not what happened. If you were to ask me right now if I'm willing to wait 2 years for anything, or 2 days, I'm going to tell you 2 days.
Yeah.
That's my nature. I saw an issue and I wanted to fix it. And the issue was that me being in that hospital caused more of an uproar than me being on that park. And that was the bottom line, matter of fact.
So you were more at ease cutting it off and not spending the 2 years to rehab. And it wasn't a matter of the park as much as it was for you, correct?
It was a matter of the animals, and also, the park obviously is a big part of that, because that's where the animals live. That's their home. If the park goes away, where do the animals go? But I knew, honestly, this is my exact thought sitting in the hospital bed immediately after, being bandaged up for my very first surgery. I still had my hand, and I sat there and said, the longer I sit here, the more this story becomes something else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have got to go back. So with that mindset, the surgeon came in and said, hey, these are your options. We can try to put your hand together, but it'll be 2 years, or more of reconstructive surgery. And we can't tell you to what percentage of ability you will have in that hand, or you can amputate. And I said, you need to cut it off. There's no way.
Ladies love scars. Go for it. Like,
I mean, I like absolutes. I like knowing exactly what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And in 2 years of reconstructive surgery to a questionable future, I don't think so.
yeah, 100. That's like going on the same blind date for 2 years. I get that.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, where's this going?
How much wine are you going to drink?
You seem to get along just fine without it. I mean, with do you call it a nub?
I do. It's my nub. And what's funny is that the surgeon actually told me that amputation would take place above my elbow. So I have so much more than I thought I would have had at the time.
Yeah.
At the time of agreement, I said to cut it off, thinking it would be above my elbow. So I looked at this when I got out of surgery. I looked at this and I was like, "Holy smokes! That's a win for me."
Yeah, yeah.
Goodness, I got a lot more than I thought I would.
I was saying, because as long as you can learn to be like usable again. And were you right-handed always then?
I was actually, I was right-handed by nature. I was ambidextrous most of my adult life because my father was left-handed, and I wanted to do everything like him. I wanted to be able to use his baseball glove, and that's a left-handed baseball glove, so it had to go on my right hand. Now I got to learn how to do everything with my left. So
you were made for it. It was just like, like, I don't know, you're just made to have this really cool story. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, I just been that person my whole life, which made my siblings crazy. It drove them absolutely bonkers,
Yeah.
My parents, blessed my parents. I lost both my parents, but wherever they are, man, they're looking down going, good luck, world. Good luck.
He is still kicking good luck.
Yeah, absolutely.
How many siblings do you
they're
have?
off the clock now.
How many siblings do you have?
I have 2 sisters and a brother.
And they are all in Hawaii still?
Yeah, they are. None of them left. They have these beautiful families, beautiful kids, and beautiful lives down there in Hawaii, and they love it. And that just goes to show how much I am not like them. I couldn't stand it. I just felt like I was going in circles.
Well, you did call it like living on a rock, which I've never heard it called that before, but now I'm like,
right.
Makes sense.
It's a beautiful paradise, and I absolutely love that I was lucky enough to grow up there. But there was no way that I could stay there.
You got too much energy.
I got too much something. I always feel like there's something else that I need to get my hand on. So I just keep going.
My dad calls it spunk, You know, but I mean,
yeah.
Tenacity.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes, my family members call it asinine, but
that's an
that's just me.
just
I've
the
always
one
been
person
racist,
the one.
you know?
No.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, man.
My biggest thing that I always tell people is that sorry about that.
Oh,
Is
you're
that
good.
if you're gonna be dumb, you got to be tough, So I'm
100.
just
That's
I'm just
good.
balancing scales here,
That's good.
No, because then to complete that, because then my family always says, because you don't want to die in a dumb way, you want to die like in like a really good way, like you want the
Yeah,
story to be like,
yeah,
Go out
be
style.
good. Yeah, be good or be really, really good at it. I
right,
mean, come on.
exactly, or fake it till you make it, something.
I'm telling you, I could go for days. I could do this for days. I got a 5-year-old, so I mean, I'm
Oh
just
man,
back and forth, back and forth.
My fiance's younger brother's 10. That's the best competition I have
It's
for
the
that.
best, right?
I
It's the
know
best.
it's so fun.
Yeah, man.
Oh man. Well, okay. So I think the only question really I have left, I just want to make sure we've covered everything that I wanted to cover. Okay. So did we cover, okay, so how many kids? You said you have 3 kids.
I do.
Okay, and what are their ages?
Their ages are 11, 5, and a newborn baby.
And a newborn. You have, so you're just all over the board with what's going on.
I mean, as far as chaos, madness,
Yeah.
But
Enjoy
but
that, it seems like.
I absolutely love it. I live for this,
You don't need tigers. You have an 11, a 6, and a newborn.
Exactly, and for me, I mean, I think I take this as a blessing. Honestly, it's a time in life where we're forced to slow down and just
Mhm.
take a good hard look at who you're doing it all for.
Yeah.
Why you're working so hard, why you're sitting in traffic every morning to go to the same job, every day. I think this is a good time to reflect on why.
Yeah.
And this entire crisis, albeit tough, and I wouldn't want it to repeat itself. But it does kind of force us to look at that and to enjoy that. It's our little reward. You know what I mean? Without saying it out loud. So
It quiets us down to actually listen to ourselves, I think.
yeah, because I mean, how many times a day do you go to work and go, what am I doing? What am I doing it for?
Mhm.
And and then you just keep doing it because you have to, and then you go home, you go to sleep, and you get up and you do it all over again. Possibly ask yourself again, why am I doing this every day? I need a better job, I need a better car, I need a better house. And at the end of every day, you go home to your family and your loved ones, or and you go to sleep and you don't realize that's what it is for. That's why, that moment, that time spent. So I see it as a blessing for everyone, like you said, to just kind of quiet down, slow down, and take a good hard look at why we're doing everything that we do. When everything else picks up and it starts to go in real time again, we'll always have that moment, So
I think it'll definitely be different. I think Mother Nature may be telling us too, hey, listen, you guys have been harming me too much. This is stopping
something,
pollution. This is stopping a
something,
lot of
you
stuff.
know, something. And she's a big bitch.
Oh
She's
my
the
gosh,
biggest
right?
bitch,
Oh gosh.
That's
She
true.
feels
Yeah.
bits, and Florida feels a lot of it, and
Yeah. Unfortunately, Florida's right there. Yeah,
So
how's your guys' weather now?
we're
right
70
now it's
today,
beautiful, but
Oh, that's wonderful. That's
but
wonderful. Yeah, California's nice.
yeah,
yeah, well, I see. Well, and right now we can brag, but like last week we had snow,
yeah.
so like
And hail.
it's just like we'll see what happens next week. So
Yeah, that's incredible. Last week you had snow and today it's 70.
Yeah,
Indiana, there's not like real seasons. Like our summer was more like fall, just stretched out.
Is that just like a Florida thing, or is that just
Oh
this
no,
year?
we're in
Indiana.
Indiana.
Oh, Indiana. Gotcha.
Yeah,
I
no.
was
Yes.
tripping out. I was
No,
no.
Florida. I just gets hit with a lot of storms. Again, not great comedians. So,
Yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah, no, I love LA. It's my my homo away from homo, I call it, because I go out there I go out there a couple times. I was just out there at the beginning of March, actually, and right before all this happened, per se.
Well,
I mean, it was going on.
Right.
It was going on.
That's the hard part, is that like it, you know, it was in the news and it was being talked about, but I didn't take it seriously whatsoever until the kids came home and never left again. It's like, did school just quit? I mean,
they said we couldn't go back. What did you do?
Yeah, like did I miss something?
Indiana,
it was like a Wednesday morning, you know? It was a Wednesday morning, and I was like, what are you guys still doing here?
Well, Indiana just announced yesterday that they are not going back to school at all this year.
California hasn't done it yet, but it's coming. I think they're just, California is typical West Coast vibe, where they're like, maybe just another week. It's been like another week for a month now, buddy. But
I think teachers are going to get raises after all this.
I sure hope so. You know, I sure hope. And you know what's awesome is the school that my children go to actually give out lunches.
That's cool.
No matter what.
Cool.
Yeah, so they set it all up, and all you do is you go to the school and you just go through the roundabout, and they will still give you your child's school lunch no matter what.
Every day.
It's amazing.
Pick it up.
You know?
Man.
And again, so I see, you know, an opportunity, and I said this to someone earlier. They were like, you know, this is the worst thing ever, you know, and I was like, I actually see more positive, because now more so than ever, people are coming together, you know. Nurses and healthcare employees around the world are coming together to stand up to this thing at the forefront of it all. And in any other time, you know, that's not extremely recognized, but they are the rock stars, man. You know, they're out there on the front lines while everyone else is kicking it at home. And not only are they busting butt out there, but they're coming home in like fear that they're bringing anything that they've come into contact with home to their loved ones, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Man, this is a time where people, like I said, we were lucky in this time frame that we have social media and we have all these ways to communicate. But if it wasn't for any of that, it would be a matter of staying home with the loved ones that you just take for granted, you know? You see them every day, so.
It's true. It's true. That's a great way to put it. See, and you were always the most level-headed person on the farm, in my opinion, in a lot of people's opinion. You're like the most chill and level-headed person on the farm, or not farm, zoo.
Yeah.
I would say it's not like a cult or like, you know what I mean, a collective, right?
No. We were definitely an interesting bunch of guys, though. I mean, anytime we rode through town, especially, I couldn't tell you guys how much it made me laugh to see people look at us in our zoo uniforms, you know, me and the park manager, Rinky, with no legs, and I have a missing hand. They're just like, what happens on that zoo, man? Like, what's happening?
Well, and he didn't lose his legs at the zoo. He lost those before that. Right? And I can only imagine.
I won't even count on zip lines.
But I mean, it was just funny. And then to top it all off, you know, we're next to Joe Exotic, so it was a blast. It was honestly a blast. And I think as far as personalities, the reason that it was such a blast is because it was so extreme from one to the other. You know, I had absolutely nothing in common with Joe, except the fact that we both loved animals. We had nothing in common, but we spent every single day for 10 years together, tending to these animals. So, yeah, it was a circus, you know.
How many husbands did he really have?
Joe?
Yeah.
He just had the 2 legally.
Okay.
He does speak of others. His ex-husband, John Finley, his husband by I guess common law, but never legally. And then he had 2 others that he spoke of, and those again were not legal. Travis was the first legal marriage he had, and then Dylan was the second.
Were you
and the 2 last names that he has right now are both of their last names.
Were you close to Travis?
Extremely close to Travis. Yes.
That
was my buddy.
That had to have been hard.
Oh man, that hit hard. Yeah, for sure. Travis was joy, man. There's no other way to put Travis except joy. He did a lot of stupid things, don't get me wrong, a lot of things that I didn't agree with at all. But it never negatively affected me at all. And it's never negatively affected anyone in front of my eyes ever. That man was an absolute joy to life. And we lost a lot that day. We lost a lot.
That was definitely one of the more.
By the docuseries, it seems like that's what really turned Joe around.
Right. Yeah, yeah. That took a hard toll on him. I know that for a fact. But I think that it also put him in a really crappy mind frame, a really crappy mindset. Almost to a point where I couldn't recognize Joe, so yeah. It was a tough one. It was definitely a tough day.
Yeah, no, that was definitely one of the more chilling parts of the whole thing, because I didn't see that coming. Because I mean, the whole time they paint Travis as really just like there to like make people happy, and then
100%. I mean, he could make the grumpy laugh. I mean, he could. I guarantee it. I'll put money on it. He was the best, man. He was the best.
Well, I'm definitely sorry for that loss. After seeing that looked like something that shook the entire community around him.
It should have shook the world. It really should have.
Yeah.
I mean, because he was a big, giant boy. Just a big, giant boy, man. He was everything that you wanted to be.
Yeah.
Seriously. As far as just joy for life, joy for everything. He found joy in everything.
Those kind of people are just something to cherish too.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So have you been getting a lot of requests for interviews or talk shows or anything like that? I mean, because everything right now, I saw you on David Spade.
Right.
I went and
yeah,
saw.
No, I've been getting just tons and tons and tons of messages, and what I've been doing is just going through them literally from the bottom up, so that I'm going in order, and I'm trying my best to navigate my way through organizing it all and being able to respond and participate in it all, because I love being a part of the conversation.
Yeah. And you have you've been really well spoken through it all too, and goes such a long way.
Yeah.
Hey guys, it's Lisa with The Gaze of Our Lives, and this week's episode is sponsored by my own CBD line through Denver CBD. It's actually the first one in town here that has vitamin D in it, and it's also helping with different causes. The strawberry flavor, 5% goes to Cancer Support Community. The orange flavor, 5% goes to the National MS Society. Use my code LISA20 and get 20% off your order.
Awesome. Well, okay, so do you have any more questions before our next segment?
I don't think so. I think you covered a lot of it. Yeah. So you want to do the Gaze Ask?
Yeah. So our next segment, it's called Gaze Ask, #Gaze Ask, just to make sure we're getting that K sound in there. But basically we just have 4 really simple, like silly, shallow questions that we ask. And then I guess they're not always shallow. Some of them are pretty deep. But there's 4 last questions, and then you just answer however you want.
All right, cool.
So, and then, did you want to go first, Lisa, or did you want me to?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Okay, if you could have any superpower, what would it be and why?
Superpower, I think flying for sure. 100%.
Flying, right on.
Yeah, definitely, because I've never ever felt that feeling. You ever had a dream where you just running and then you jump and you just fly? I've never felt that feeling with anything else. I mean, seriously, it's the best. It's exhilarating, And I've jumped out of airplanes and I've done things like that. But just to be able to say, I don't want to be here, I want to be there, and just fly there, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Probably with California traffic too. That would probably be really helpful.
It's so funny because everyone always makes fun of me saying that I can't keep my feet on the ground. I'm constantly just like into everything. And then I'm asked what superpower I want, and I'm like, I want to fly.
I want to go. I want to go.
I can do more. I can go more quicker.
I'm the worst.
You picked it quick too. You already knew. Can't keep my feet on the ground anyway.
That's right. If you could have dinner with anybody, who would it be and why?
Dinner with anybody, it would probably be someone like like Shaquille O'Neal, just to see like how much food can go into that one little, like how much food can you really eat, you know?
So you're like going to an all-you-can-eat buffet too, and then just like going to town.
I just want to see if he can actually empty, like I want to see if there's a buffet that he walks into and they say, no.
Not today. Not today.
We don't have enough. You know?
Like, sir, I'm so sorry. We weren't prepared for you to come.
I just genuinely live for those moments where people are like shocked and awed by, you know, I would love to see how much he can genuinely eat, honestly.
Him too, right?
That's an awesome answer.
Did you get to meet him when he was at the park or at the zoo?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah. It was very brief because you know, he was busy with Joe and Jeff and all them, and I was busy, you know, working.
And there were tigers around and lions, bears.
Yeah, it was very brief, but I mean, he's a giant of a man. I mean, his hands were like the size of my torso.
I can't even imagine.
I
He's
know.
just a massive dude.
But he is an awesome guy, man. He's funny. He is legitimately funny.
I bet.
Yeah, he's really cool.
When he said he got another tiger, he meant sponsor or something, correct? Didn't they do that? They sponsored tiger?
Right. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and he did, and he really, truly did. I mean, he was very participative, you know, when he was there, and he was very into it. He was passionate about wanting to be a sponsor, and that goes into building their cage, to building their house, to providing, you know, just anything for enrichment over the years. And it's a continuous thing, or it's not, but that's what sponsorship means, you know. And also you get to name them. So he got to name a few of our tigers. So that was cool too.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, my next one is, if you could be on any reality TV show, whether it's a competition or just a show, what would it be and why?
Reality TV show, it would definitely have to be a competition show. I'm thinking maybe something like you know how they used to have real world versus road rules, and they just do a bunch of crazy challenges.
Oh yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, or like Fear Factor, because I've watched Fear Factor over and over and over again, and I literally have never seen anything I'm afraid of on there. Literally nothing.
I thought you were totally gonna say Fear Factor too.
You know, Survivor.
So I just thought it would be like boring, you know, to watch me on Fear Factor, because I'm like, so just jump in there and that's it, you know.
How long do I have to stay in there?
Yeah, I mean,
eat that. Okay.
That's all you get, you know. It's really funny. Yeah, Survivor as well. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say that I have literally sat anywhere for an extended period of time without any help, but I've been in situations where I cut it close. I cut it close to this is insane, and I came out just fine. So
I feel like you'd kill all of those. That's awesome. That's awesome. I watched that.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, I got one. Did that bitch Carol Baskins kill her husband, and how? In your opinion?
Right. Right. In my opinion, I mean, I think she's so crazy. Carol's such a different character, you know. There's something about her. So is she capable of it? Absolutely. Did she do it? I don't know. I really don't. I never really participated in that feud or in that discussion ever, you know. But man, it sure seems like it, doesn't it? Yeah. All the fingers in that direction, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think she. Yeah.
I'm genuinely glad that they're reopening it, re-looking into it, because there's a family, an entire family left behind and affected by this, that they didn't really put at the forefront of all this, you know? They were kind of in the background of Carol's story. This is his children, you know? This is the woman he spent his whole life with up until the point he met Carol, and these were his daughters, and I think they deserve that, you know? he was still a man. He was a father, you know, and I think that it's important. So I'm glad that they're looking into it. Yeah, yeah, it's crazy.
I did hear Avery actually saw it that Joe's in quarantine in the jail because he's got the virus. Did you hear that?
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, he's under quarantine in the. I like just read it yesterday after we found out we couldn't do the interview yesterday, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. And like Joe went to isolation. It's like very apropos. I don't know.
Yeah,
yeah. You know, I almost figured that he would already be in isolation just because of the high, you know, profile of the case itself. But I honestly have no idea. I don't keep up with any of it. Honestly, I really don't. You know, everything that I keep up with or that I respond to or reply to, it is directly to me or with me or for me. So other than that, I don't read up on much else.
Well, that's part of your past, and so, you know, I get that.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, I still want to acknowledge the fact that I was a part of it. You know, it was a great experience. It was my entire life for almost 10 years. But as far as disconnecting, I mean, I had to disconnect, and I'm standing by it, standing strong on it.
So we really appreciate you being on. It means a lot to us, and for you to tell your story, and we greatly appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you guys. You know, I love that everyone is willing to allow me to tell my side and my story. So thank you guys very much.
I had so much fun just talking to you. You are
so
fun.
I want to be friends.
Right? Yeah, you're so much fun.
Like I said, I'm just me, man. My theory or philosophy on life is always like, you do you and just kind of watch me do my thing, you know?
Right.
This never gonna change.
Don't change. Yeah. Well, hey, if you guys want to be on our show, you can always reach out to us at www.laughs.life, or
you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok-ish, or YouTube. Actually, definitely want to subscribe to us on YouTube because that's where all our episodes are. I know I got all of them. There may or not might not be like a list like right here. So
nailed it.
I know. Thank you.
This has been Gaze of Our Lives. Make sure to check out the Gaze online at www.laughs.life.